It's Jane McLeod live in Fans of the Framework. And we're doing a resiliency series called Grace Under Fire, a leader's resiliency. And this is session number 2, right? Session number 2. So welcome back. Right, welcome back. One of the reasons why I called this Grace Under Fire is because we as leaders frequently do not forgive ourselves enough. We don't forgive ourselves as humans, period, but we most often don't forgive ourselves when it comes to self-care and not considering that we're enough and doing enough. It always seems like it's too little. You may feel like that, especially if you're a high-performing leader, high-performing human, period. You may feel like, I just simply don't do enough. I don't do enough at work. I don't do enough, exercise. I'm not a good enough friend. I'm not a good enough sibling. I'm not a good enough daughter, wife, mother, you name it. We're not good enough. And we got to stop doing that to ourselves, right? So that's where a loss of resiliency and becoming crispy crittered and burnout really sneaks up on you. Is it gives you this, that's the third symptom of burnout. It gives you this sense of not being good enough. So grace under fire, right? Having the umbrella of grace to forgive yourself when you're under fire and under stress. And how can you do that? Live well, right? But eat well, move well, sleep well. And today we're going to focus on MOVE, move, right? So sitting is the new smoking. In Tom Rath's book, Eat, Move, Sleep, I mentioned to you that there are 30 studies involved in eating, moving, and sleeping. And he actually quotes these studies. And the study that was most intriguing to me and rereading a lot of his movement stuff and preparing for this for you guys is that there was a study, 250,000 humans that were followed around for decades. And what they found was that even regular exercisers, still were at high risk for heart disease if they spent greater than 6 hours sitting. Are you sitting on a couch? Are you sitting on a chair? Are you sitting at your desk? Where do you sit, right? Where do you sit? So I had a physician that I used to work with who was a lifelong Navy man. And so, movement and exercise was just bred into him. And he would say to me, like, Jane, your nurses are killing themselves with their forks. Well, people are killing themselves with their chairs, not their forks, right? Let's talk about that a little bit. So experiencing any inactivity during your day. So we're going to differentiate today the difference between exercise and movement and why you need both. Let me give you an example. So today I'm going to ride my bike 25 miles. I have a fitness goal, 75 miles a week for 10 straight weeks. And so today's the day. Go to farmer's market with my daughter, ride my bike there and back, vegetables strapped to the handlebars on the way back, right? So before you block me for the rest of your life and turn off this Fans of the Framework episode and say that chick is crazy. I know she lives by Lake Superior where there's a crazy headwind. You would be right. No. Don't do that, right? Because here's what the rest of my day has been. Typically on a capstone home office working day, which is what's been going on since 6 o'clock this morning, I acquire, 2,158 steps in a total 8-hour day, right? Not very many. Imagine my chagrin when I discovered that about myself. Are we going to talk about why you should discover that for yourself in a few minutes? So there's a difference between exercise and movement. I essentially, if I didn't do the things that I was doing today to put movement into my day, and I'll talk to you about those in a minute as well, then I would have only done that 25-mile bike ride, which is, about 2 hours worth of exercise with a lengthy farmer's market, vacation in the middle. So it does me no good. I essentially just wasted it. I essentially just wasted it. So differentiate between movement and exercise. So I know that right now, some of you are thinking that chick is cray cray because I move all day long. Well, there is also a difference between movement and feeling exhausted. So the first sign of burnout is becoming exhausted by your work. And our work is very emotional. Our work can sometimes be physically draining, but it's not from physical exhaustion. It's from making 150,000 decisions throughout the day. It's from not being mindful and allowing your brain to be scattered in every which direction. So you physically may feel exhausted and you have nothing left to give those people who love you when you enter the door at the end of the day, but that it's not from physical exertion. You feel like you're running around all day because that's what the whirlwind does to you. It's not reality, okay? It's not reality. In fact, inserting movement, real, purposeful, actual movement in your day will give you that energy back. It will give you that energy back. So dig your grave, with a fork of pasta instead of your chair. So let's talk how we're going to solve this. Sorry, Cindy Chicker, I got 4 today. I couldn't help myself. I'm so sorry. All right. She loves it when I do 3. So small, tiny movements all day long really add up. And I'm not talking about those naturally thin, annoying people who are jigglers. You know those people that jiggle all the time? That are constantly moving and twirling a pen and tapping their foot and whatever. And you know what? I have a friend who makes herself purposefully do that all day long so that she can add movement to her day. And that's okay. But when you're trying to be mindful and listening to someone, which is important for us to do as leaders, you're going to annoy the living poo out of someone if you're constantly jiggling all the time. So that's not what I mean by tiny movements throughout the day. I mean, I had to counsel an entire business office one time when I was the wellness person for my organization, and they had a leader who was a mover. She's just a natural athlete and just a natural mover, and everybody who worked for her, this giant room filled with 26 men and women who literally never moved all day long until they went home to walk out to their car, were like, we can't move. We're stuck, with this headset on our head talking to Blue Cross all day. And so what we did to these poor children, each one of them had a printer at their desk, right? I print, I reach over, I get the print, I put it in my file, right? No, au contraire. We saved a lot of money by doing this, but we took all of their printers away. Now, mind you, this wasn't the exercise Nazi. This wasn't Jane and Jackie, the leader, doing this. They all agreed to this. And so then what they would do is that instead of going from their cubby straight to the printer, they would do a lap around all the cubbies and end up at the printer every time they printed something, which likely was every hour. Okay, likely was every hour. So the first thing you have to do is evaluate, how sedentary am I? When you say to a sedentary person, do you sit greater than 6 hours a day? They're like, oh, no, there's no way. I do not do that. And then you have the realization, like Jane Ann, who thought I was this great exerciser because I exercise every single day, no matter what, that I only got 2150 steps into my day during a work day. That, yeah, you know what? I'm the definition of sedentary during my work days. So keep track first. So I'm sure everyone has some sort of movement machine like a Fitbit or whatever it is you prefer to use, and they're very inexpensive if you do want to acquire one for yourself. But it's a really good idea to see what your baseline is and then test yourself every so often. Okay, test yourself every so often. So, because it's a big, giant eye opener. My 5-year-old grandson pointed out to Mima last night when he and I were together on a field trip that I wasn't wearing a Fitbit like every other person in his life does. And I said, you know what, honey? Mima knows how much she needs to move every day. And I know some days I do better than others, but I know what 10,000 steps a day feels like, right? So, and it takes exercise plus movement every single day. So, suggest walking meetings. That's you know, as far as adding movement to your day. If someone wants to meet with you, great, walk with me. I was headed on my way to the cafeteria, or let's do a lap around the outside of the hospital. Or your roundings. But if you have a meeting with, you know, less than 2 people, you and another human, then ask if it can be a moving meeting, right? Suggest stretch breaks during meetings. Why is it okay for people to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of a meeting, or fake like they're answering a page or a call, and it's not okay for everybody to stand up and stretch, right? It's, you know, make it the cool thing in school. Set your timer. That is a huge deal for me, and that's what I've had to do all day long as I was preparing for this, because, you know, I got to walk the talk. No pun intended. And so I have to set a timer, and it depends on what my activity is for today. If I'm doing something that requires a ton of brain power, I've got to set my timer for 50 and move for 10. If I'm doing something with not a lot of brain power, where I can be in and out of screens and flipping around between, you know, roles, reading emails, you know, stuff like that, I can do tiny little micro movements every 10 minutes. Go outside, move the hose on the new bushes I just bought, or something like that. So set your timer. And I know Fitbits do a really great job of vibrating you to tell you when you haven't been moving. So I don't know if you're into that or not. It was totally annoying to me, but find a way to remind yourself that you have to change. Get a stand-up desk. Get a stand-up desk. You expend 150% more energy standing than you do sitting. You expend 200% more energy climbing stairs. Study done by my friend here. Okay, so don't take the elevator. Take the stairs. Take other people. Drag them up the stairs with you, and then also move. Stand up. Right, just by standing up. Just by standing up. One of the big changes that I made when I still had an office and worked at the hospital, because when you say something out loud and commit to it and publicly say something, people will remember, right? People will say, hey, how are you doing on that? And I wanted everyone who called my office to remind me that it was my fitness goal for 30 days to stand up whenever my phone rang, and not sit down until after I had finished the phone conversation with the wonderful human who had called me. So 2 things happen here. You can't mindlessly be on the phone and be checking emails and looking at your cell phone and texting somebody while you're not listening to the person who deserves to hear your voice and have your full attention. You stop doing that. So by standing up, I put some really cool art, on my desk at the stand-up level instead of at the below level, put pictures of the grands and I told everybody, remind me I'm supposed to be standing up every time you called. And so people would not even say hello to me. They'd be like, are you standing up right now? And then, call me 3 annoying times in a row to make sure I was standing up. So amazing. Get a stand-up desk. They make them. They're about between $600 and $700. I have a cake plate that Sue gifted me. It's actually a charcuterie board that I can put in the refrigerator. Well, guess what? I put it at my kitchen island. I put my computer on top of it. In fact, my little computer is sitting on it right this moment. And that is my stand-up desk, right? It's set up all the time. My kids have stopped asking me when they walk to my house, are we having charcuterie today? Nope, Mom was working today. No big deal, right? So your homework assignment, and I'll remind you at the end of live, your homework assignment for me this week is going to be post in live. Post after this video. How will you add movement to your day? What micro movements will you add? and challenge yourself too, because remember, when we post it in live, when we put it in here, guess what happens? We have to follow up, right? We have to follow up. So number 2 thing to do to add movement, and this really has to do with exercise. Harvard did a huge study of nurses, coincidentally, over 25 years. And it's a very famous study. And what the nurse study found is that instead of getting on the elliptical for a half an hour every morning at 4:30 and then sitting for the rest of the day, what actually is better for us is if we spend that 30 minutes of required exercise and break it up into 3 10-minute chunks. So when you're saying, Jane, I might be able to move. I'll move my dang printer to the other side of the room if it'll make you happy. So I might be able to move more. I don't mind trying to wear a Fitbit and trying to go for 5,000 steps, but I simply do not have time to exercise. Well, do you have 10 minutes? Do you have 10 minutes? Because by putting 3 10-minute sessions together, before work, in the middle of the work, after work, you bump your metabolism, bump your energy 3 times during the day, 3 times the benefit, right? So much better for you actually than doing high intensity exercise all at once. So try that. Right? Try that. Harvard study, very well-known study. Number 3, outdoor exercise has twice the benefit of indoor exercise. Outdoor exercise has twice the benefit of indoor exercise. So some of you, like myself, live in places where there is extreme weather that makes it unpleasant to exercise outside. Not usually this time of year, unless you're in Arizona, where some of my friends are. So, really try hard to squeeze in, 2 or 3 of your even just 10-minute exercise sessions outside, because you double the benefit to your body. Your circadian rhythm resets, your stress goes down, your cortisol level goes down, your blood pressure is lowered, your mindfulness increases. Outside is the best gift that you can give to yourself. An air bath, I call it, right? An air bath. Number 4, this is really important, to find something that you love to do. Find something that you love to do. Even those micro movements that you're going to make, make sure that it's your happy place. Make sure that you think to yourself, dang, I love this. This is cool. I just love it, right? And make sure it's your happy place. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with double duty, right? I know that makes us less mindful, but whenever I do my stand-up paddleboard at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is the only time that the water is dead calm around here, then, I do my prayer and meditation at the same time. Okay. So am I more likely to fall off that board? Yes, I am, but that's why it's attached to me, right? So maybe move, maybe you do meditate, maybe you do have some prayer time, working on your spirituality every day. Move during it, right? Move during it. So in closing, the call to action for you is invite others to join fans of the framework. If you know somebody who may be suffering from a loss of resiliency and could really use quarterly resiliency, small advice, right? Or even next week when we begin to talk about sleep or eat, I haven't decided yet. There's quarterly resiliency offerings here on Fans of the Framework. You're also invited to join the Greatness course, which has a resiliency piece to it, and that is right on our website. We can become a partner. Our framework. This is how we lead around here. Part of our leadership bundle or standard work of leaders has a resiliency to it. So thank you so much for joining me today. And don't forget to post how you're going to add tiny bits of movement to your day. I want to hear all about it. Thanks.